Hi everybody, my name's Jamie and welcome to Teachers Tech. And welcome to my second lesson on Google Sheets for beginners. This is going to cover a lot of important information for Google Sheets to make sure you get effective when using it. I have the complete practice guide down below in the link. It will automatically create a copy for you and you can follow along step by step in this beginner's tutorial for Google Sheets. I'm going to be continuing on with more Google Sheet tutorials. So after this, let me know in the comments what else are you looking to learn. Look at the timestamps down below in the descriptions. You can jump around this at different points if you know exactly what you want to learn. I want to start by showing you two different ways to autocomplete or autofill data inside Google Sheets. And I want to make sure that under Tools, Autocomplete, that you have these checked on. By default, they should be on. So we're going to go over two different methods. We're going to look at the fill handle and Smart Fill to speed up your data entry. Let's start with speeding up your data entry by making sure that you're capitalizing on autofill in Google Sheets. So we're going to be using the fill handle, which is right here, this blue circle that I can drag in different directions. When I do this on certain things, this is already built into Google Sheets, let's say January, and I drag this down, it already knows that there's a pattern there and it can keep continuing on with it. Now, the other thing you can go, let's say, is days. So it recognizes the days of the week and we'll fill it in. And even if they're abbreviated, it will know to follow that pattern with whether it be the months or even the days. Now, if we have, let's say, the number 1, I try to copy this down. Notice it doesn't go through and start adding up because it doesn't recognize the pattern or what I wanted to do yet. So I'm just going to go Control Z. Now, if I put the number 2 in here and then highlight these two, I can go and drag down and then it knows the pattern and it's going to continue on. I can create a pattern here. Let's say if I wanted to count by 10s, or sorry, 5s, if I put 10 in here and then I highlight both and drag it down, it knows to continue the pattern in that format. You can even do this with dates. So if I drag the dates down, it's just going to continue on going each one, thinking of how I'd want it. So if I had a pattern in it, it would recognize the pattern. Now I've been doing this vertically, but I also want to show you, you can do this across horizontally. So if I drag January this way, it will continue, or Monday this way, or the abbreviations. And the same thing with the counting on it. Remember to add your second number and go through. The other thing I wanted to point out, you can go in the other direction. So whether I was doing vertically or now horizontally, if I go through and click on this one and drag it this way, notice it starts to fill it in from December, November. So this will turn to Sunday this way when I would pull it to the left. Same thing with the abbreviations, or make sure with the numbers, drag it this way, I'll go into the negatives. And with dates, I can drag it this way and notice it's going to be in the previous year as it went before January. So I just want to make sure to start with that you recognize the power of autofill and just using the fill handle in Google Sheets. Smart Fill is another important feature inside Google Sheets to take advantage of. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to want to break this name right here, Emma Johnson, into 2. Now, that doesn't take long to do 1, but I want to do this entire list. Smart Fill can help me with this. So let's go ahead and click in this cell here. If I start typing Emma here, and then I go to Noah, and usually when I get to my third one, so if I have a long list, you can see how this will be very beneficial. It offers me a formula suggestion. Now, this is done by creating a formula. I could go ahead and show the formula, and they're using the left function, and then you can see how the formula is built. If this is what I want, I can go ahead and approve it here, accept it, and then it's all filled out. So I can also do this with the last name. So if I start typing Johnson, and remember, I can't have any typos or it's not going to work, and then we'll type Smith, and better type that correctly. And then I go to the next one, and usually as soon as I get to the third one, it gives me that suggestion. I can take a look at the formula being used, go ahead and approve it. So you can see how this can save you a lot of time when you're kind of trying to separate two different cells. But you can also use it to combine cells. And in this example, I made 3 different columns here. I could have 2 different columns. It's just going to be picking up the pattern on the data that's there. So I want to have all the names inside one cell. So it's going to combine these 3 cells. So I already put 2 into just started here, but I'm going to go and start typing Ella. Again, can't have any typos in here. So I type Ella and then Smith. And let's go to the next one. And when I usually start typing, there's the list right here, and it's going to auto-complete this with the initial in it. If I go to show formula, it's using the concatenate to combine different cells. And you could do this by yourself with just typing this formula, but the autofill creates the formula for you. So if I click on any of these cells, you can check up in the formula up here. Now, if you're used to Microsoft Excel with their the flash fill, that's a lot more powerful than this one. It can separate and combine things at a lot higher rate. I do want to point out something that's coming through Google that was just shown as an example a couple of months ago. So here is how they're going to put AI inside the Smart Fill. They're going to call it Enhanced Smart Fill. And these are just, I'll put the link to this page here down below in the link so you can check it out. But they're giving examples here where it's auto-filling based on the reviews that are there using AI. So there's a few different examples that they're showing that it can read through this and then know what to put. So you can see how this will speed up your data entry even more when this AI is built through Google Sheets when using the Enhanced Smart Fill. Let's move on to other ways we can combine cells in Google Sheets. I just showed you Smart Fill, and that way worked great. It recognized the pattern and created a formula using a function to combine them. Now we're going to kind of dive into those different functions and formulas, creating them on your own, so you just understand what's happening. Let's start with this one right here, concat. And then we're going to work our way through these different methods. And I kind of like text join the best for what I want to do in this. I want to combine these different ones with spaces into one cell. So let's go over to this cell right here. And I'm going to start, when we start with our formula, we need to start with an equal sign. So we put our equal sign in, and I'm going to just start typing the function's name, and it is concat. Here it is right here. So concatenation of 2 values. Notice there's concatenate, which we'll cover in a little bit too. So I'm going to select this one. As soon as you select it, remember when you're using creating these formulas, you can get some help. So if I click on it, it kind of shows you how this is set up. Notice that there's value 1, a comma, then value 2. All you can do is 2 different values with concat, and I wanted 3. So I could go ahead and select this cell right here, A2, put my comma in, and then select my second cell and just hit enter. And that's pretty much all I can do. I can't go back and put a space in this one. I can do the autocomplete now. So if I go and drag down, just like I showed you before, it will copy that formula all the way down. But it's not a great example because I can't go ahead and put these spaces in here, and I can't get that third column as part of it. Using the ampersand sign is a great, easy way to combine cells. So let's show an example. In this cell right here, I'm going to start again my formula with an equal sign, and I don't go to any function because all I'm using is the symbol. What's my first cell? It's going to be A2, this one. And now I can go ahead and place the ampersand sign. So that's my Shift F7. And then I can go back and just click on this one, B2, and it's already showing me what it looks like. I can go put my another ampersand sign in and then click my last one. And it shows me what it looks like. I could hit enter, and this allows me to use the autocomplete with the fill handle and copy it down. But you can add spaces to it, and it's quite easy to do this. So I'm just going to go Control Z to undo that last step. And rather than do this all over again, I'm just going to double click in here because I can format it. So what I want to have happen is after that first ampersand sign, all I'm going to do is add a quotation mark here and then put a space in, and then add another quotation mark and then add another ampersand sign. it's showing me now there's a space between John and Snow. So if I hit enter, there it is. Now I'm going to go back to this one again. I'll just double click on this one. I could format it over here in the function or line up here, but I'm going to go after this one here, and I'm going to put my quotation mark in, but this time I don't want to have a space. Let's say I want a hyphen. So I'm going to give it a space on each side, close my quotation mark, and put another ampersand sign in, and it shows me what I want. So it has the hyphen in it. So I'll go ahead, hit enter, and if I copy this down, this time this kind of gets to where I wanted. It was able to combine those cells. I was able to have the spaces, put in a different delimiter where I wanted, and copy it down. Now let's look at the concatenate function inside Google Sheets. This is what SmartFill created when it went through and suggested how to do it on the previous exercise. I'm going to click in this cell, start with my equal sign, start typing concatenate. Here it is right here. So append strings to one another. I'm going to select this one, and this is how quickly we can combine using concatenate. If I just go ahead and select these three, could be more, I hit enter, and it went through and put those all together. Not with, it doesn't have the spaces, and I want the spaces. There is a way we can do this. The other thing I want to show you with concatenate, and I'm just going to delete that and start typing it again, I can pick more than just the three across. Look at this. So if I highlight this right here, so here's an array, I could go ahead and hit enter. And what it did, it took all of those right here and put them into one cell. So not that I want that, but I wanted to show you the capabilities of it. So to get the spaces, what I need to do with this concatenate is actually go cell by cell. Similar to concat, I'll go and type concatenate again. And this time I'll select on the first cell here, add a comma. This allows me to enter my delimiter, which is the space. So I can go ahead and put my quotation mark, put the space in it, add another one, put another comma, click on the second cell, add a comma, and then what do I want in the next one? Well, this is going to be a space. Well, maybe I'll do what I did before, and I'll add the hyphen and another space and put another quotation mark, add a comma, click on the last one here and hit enter. So now I have Jon Snow, the wall, very similar to what was created here. And I can drag this down, grab the fill handle, drag it down, and autocomplete these. Now let's go to this next one, text join, and I really like the way this one. Let's go ahead and start this formula. So we'll put our equal sign and start typing text join. Here it is here. So I'm going to hit the question mark. So you can see what we're going to be doing. The first one is going to be putting in the delimiter. So a delimiter is like the space or a hyphen or what we want in those spots. Then the next one is going to be a true or false. So this will look if there's going to be an empty cell. If it's true, it will ignore it. And I'm going to leave it to true. And then we make our selection of the cells that we want. So let's go ahead and do this. So the delimiter in this case is going to be just the space. So I'll put the space in, just like I usually do. And then we'll add a comma after this. And what's going to be the next part? Well, I'm going to call this true in case it's an empty cell, and would be false, again, the other way. So I'll put my comma. And what do I want now? Well, I'm just going to highlight these right here, and I can hit enter. So look at this. It went through, put the spaces in, makes it easy to copy down. And this is text join. So that's another option to combine cells in Google Sheets. Now I have some quick data cleanup tips for you. So here's the first one, and I'm under the split text tab down below. What I want you to do is take a look at this. So if I click in A1, you can see all this information is in A1. It's from their name, address, and email, and then so on to A2. I want to split this into separate columns. So if I go ahead and then just select this information, go to data up here, and I can go to split text to columns. As soon as I click that, notice it took those right through here. So the separator, detect automatically, you can see the different options that you can pick from these different ways. I'm just going to leave detect automatically. And then just like that, I took those that were all in one cell and put them in different columns. let's try something else to clean up your data. And I'm going to go to the next tab, data cleanup. You could have maybe blank rows or you could have duplicates. So I'm going to go ahead and select what I want to clean up. I'm going to just select the area through here like this. And I'm going to go back to data and we're going to go to data cleanup. You could try cleanup suggestion. I give that a try. I'm just going to show remove duplicates. And when I select this, does this have a header row? Well, I didn't have the header selected, so I don't need to turn this on. I'm going to go select all. And I know there's a few duplicates in here, so I'm going to go ahead and hit remove and look how, so it found 5 duplicate rows found and removed, 7 unique rows remain. Hit OK. The reason it didn't delete this one is because it took the 2 duplicates that were blank rows, and now I could just go ahead and clean up this last one too. But if you use the suggestion on the data cleanup, it will actually go through and will even suggesting deleting the blank rows as well. Cell referencing is an extremely important concept to understand when working in spreadsheets and formulas and copying. And we're going to be talking about 2 different things of relative and absolute cell referencing. Now, let's start with a little example. I'm on the cell referencing tab. I'm going to just do a little formula here. This is week 1 total. So here's my price per unit, and it's going to be week 1 sales. So I just need to multiply those 2. And I'm going to use the cell. So I'm going to hit equals to start my formula and click in this cell and use my multiply symbol here and go ahead and click on week 1, hit enter. Autofill looks all right. And these numbers are correct. So I can just copy the formula down and move down as needed. The issue is going to happen is I want to be able to just copy it over one. I could create a brand new formula in here, but to speed things up, it'd be nice if I could just copy this over just this way. But when I do, you can see already this number isn't right. I don't have the formatting of the dollar sign on here, but 780 is not even close to what the amount should be. What's happening? So if I go to view, I can show my formulas here. If I click on it, so C4 times D4, this is C4 times D4. That was correct. But when I copied it over the other way, now it's D4 times E4. So in D4 here, so if I click in here, it multiplied week 1 sales times week 2 sales. Well, I needed to stay in here. When I copy to the right, I need to lock it in to column C. I don't want it to move relative. So I need to add an absolute to this. So make it absolute relative. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this here. And I'm going to go and just show my normal view here. So under view, I'm just going to turn off formulas. So let's go ahead and delete everything and start over again. Now, if I go and start my formula this time, and when I click on this one, I need it to stay in column C when I copy it over to the right. And so I need to make that absolute. So we have 2 different things. We have columns and rows. I need to make the column, so which is C, absolute. I need to put a dollar sign in front of it. So quick ways to it, I could type the dollar signs in, but I like to use my F4 key. So our function F4, if I press it once, it put a dollar sign around the C, in front of the C and the 4. That means absolute, absolute. That's not what I want. I need it to move when I drag it down, but not drag it to the right. I'm going to press F4 again. So now this time it's in front of the 4, which is the row. That's not quite right. I need it in front of the C. So I'm going to press it just one more time. So now I have absolute and relative. So when I drag it down, it will change, but when I drag it to the right, it's going to stay in that column C. So now I'm just going to finish my formula here. I'm going to go and multiply this here and hit enter. Autofill, yes, the numbers stay the same. I'm not going to show the formula. Well, even if I just click in here, you can see equals C6. There's the absolute, and it doesn't change this way because this way was working before. But where it works now, if I drag this over this way, look what happened, $15. Well, this looks correct. So if I click on this spot right here, I'm just going to double click in here, C4 times E4. It's holding the column. So I made this absolute. That dollar sign kept it in this, but when I brought it over, it was E4. It dragged over to relative here. So the nice thing is I can drag this all the way down now, and everything is going to be working correctly on this. So that's the first step of having it absolute relative. Now I'm going to throw in a tip here, and I'm going to show you if we were copying it down, and we'll do an example of relative absolute. I'm going to take this same table here, and I'm going to just go Control C for copy, and I'm going to put it down here. But watch this. When I right click and I'm going to paste special, I'm going to transpose this. So if you didn't know about this, this will switch my table. Notice that I have my days across the top instead of going across on the side here. So you can quickly change your information around this way. I'm going to go ahead and delete this here. And let's do this example again. So our total, so if we were doing our formula this time, and I want this right here. So now I want the letter to change as I drag it to the right. So it's going to be the 15 that I need to lock in place. So I'm going to go ahead and use my F4, and I'm going to hit it a couple times there. That's what I want. I want to absolute that 15 in place there. And I can go ahead now and just do my multiplication, hit my week 1 sales, hit enter, and there it is, $13. They've already started filling this in, so I don't want that filled in for this. I can just drag it down like this. So I'm getting the same numbers from up top, so this all looks good. So now I can go ahead and drag this all this way, and if I click in any of these here, see D15, it's locking it into that 15 spot. So if I copy either of these over, this is all working the same here, but I had to change where the absolute is. So in this case right here, this is going to be relative because the dollar sign isn't in here, and absolute here. So there's one more example that I want to show you, and that's absolute absolute. With this cell referencing, I need it to be locked in place when I copy my formulas around. Let's go ahead and just do a function here, totaling up our 2 weeks. I'm going to put in a equal sign and type the word sum. We're going to choose this one here and select the information that I want to sum. And this all looks correct with the autofill. I'll just hit yes. Now, I want to apply a discount, and the discount is this 0.2 up here. If I was going to say, let's say equals, and I'm going to multiply this spot, and it's just going to be multiplied by this spot right here. If I just hit enter, yes, this is the discount. That works correct. That's awesome. But the issue is when I try to copy this down, well, you can see there's some issues here. So what's happening? When I brought it down, if I go ahead and let's click in this spot right here, actually we'll click in this one so you can see. So H7 times B4. It was clicking here, H7, that was correct, but then times B4, that's trying to multiply it by apples. Well, that's why it's not understanding a formula there. You can't multiply 0.2 or the total time apples. That won't make any sense. So let's go ahead and make some changes to this. I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of this here. Let's try this again. Absolute, absolute. So hit the equal sign, and we're going to say this. And when we copy this down, this is going to stay the same. We're just going to leave this relative. And I'm going to multiply this by this spot. But this time I'm going to go to my F4 here. So I'm going to hit it once. That is absolute, absolute. This will lock it into place. So watch this. If I hit enter now, look at all the numbers. Those all look correct. The suggested autofill, I'll hit check mark. Yes. So anytime I try to click in any of these, it's always going to stay as B1. So when I drag them, it's going to lock those in place. That's absolute, absolute. So this is an important concept to understand, and this will save you a lot of time when you create your formulas and start copying them over to different places. Let's get into how to sort and filter data in Google Sheets. But you notice right now, I have no data to sort or filter. I want to bring some in. So I have a little bit of a tip for you. I'm going to import data from the web so that it comes into here so I can sort and filter it. And the page that I'm going to take it from is this. So I'm just going to have some top movies here, right here, and I want this table to be imported into Google Sheets. So just before I do this, and I'll put the link down below so you can go to this page and copy it too. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this one right here. And I'm going to move this out of the way. So I'm going to go to A1 and I'm going to put an equal sign in here. And I'm going to start typing import HTML right here. So I'm going to click HTML. Now, the first thing I need to do is start it with a quotation mark and then paste what I just copied, that URL, just like that. And then I have to put another quotation mark and then place a comma. So now notice I'm at the query stage, and this is just, do I want it as a list or a table? I'm going to say table. We need to use our quotation marks around this and then type table. So on each side, the quotation mark, and then put a comma and the index. Well, there was only the one table on that page, so I'm just going to be putting the number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and bend the bracket and just hit enter. It's loading, and this will happen quite quickly. You're going to see all that information, boom, right into this. So it took that entire list and brought it into here. So I could do some formatting if I select everything by clicking up here, and I'll just click in between A and B. Everything gets sized there. All right, now we have some data. Let's go ahead and do some sorting and filtering. Now that I've imported this from the web, I'm actually going to copy these rows over to a brand new sheet. So I've already made the sheet for you. You're going to see it's going to be to sort and filter. So just go ahead. You can go Control C, or you can right click and copy. And I'm going to move over to this blank sheet here. And I'm just going to Control V and paste this in. So now this part's not connected, pulling it from the web anymore. Now, the next thing what I want to do is I'm going to freeze this top row here, because when I do my first sorting, and I'll show you what I mean here. If I do a sort, Google Sheet makes this really easy. If I just say, I'm going to, sort by the year here. So I'll go drop down, and we can go A to Z or Z to A. So we're talking, if I go to A to Z, you can see it went from the furthest away, 1963, and it went all in order from all the time. You can see how I did that. But notice that the header went away. I'm going to go undo. So Control Z undoes. And I'm going to go and freeze this top row right here. So I'm going to go and just go to View, Freeze, and I'm just going to freeze this one row. So now if I go ahead and do a sort, and this time let's say I do Z to A, you can see that this is staying in place. This isn't getting into the sort. We're going to keep this in place here. So as I move forward, that's what it's going to be. So that's going to be the first sort. Now I could do this to other columns as well. So if I was going to go drop down and then sort A to Z, you can see now how it goes through. Versus so we can see where the A is starting, where the numbers are. This has a symbol here versus the Z to A, and everything adapts. So some quick, easy sorting that way. Another way you can sort is go up to the data here, and then you can see there's sort sheet. Notice sort range isn't, I can't select it because I have to select the range. So let's go here. Now I could select just one column here and go up to here, and notice I can select this now. But what I want to do is actually select 2 of these, because now when I go up to my data and sort the range, see I can sort range by column C, A to Z, or Z to A. I'm going to go to advanced range sorting. When I do this, I'm going to say that data has header row. So when I select this, notice now I can choose between the 2 different ones. So the first one, I'm going to say distributor, and then I can add another sort column. So if I add another sort column, say by genre, and I'll just keep them the same, but you can see how you can switch them back and forth depending which way you want to sort it, and you can delete it here, or I could even add more, but I'm going to go sort. Now, take a look at this. So it went through and sorted the distributor, But within the distributor, it's sorted the genre next. So notice that all the adventure ones are put together here, actions out here. So if I scroll down, it went to A24, but then it put all the dramas together. So there's two different sorts using the advanced sort. Now I want to show you how filtering works in Google Sheets. If we go up to the Data tab here, notice that we have Create a Filter and Filter Views. These both allow you to examine your data, to dig down and look to see what really it means. Now, when you create a filter, what I'm going to be doing right now, I want to be clicked inside the table here, or inside the data somewhere. And then if I go up and I create a filter, as soon as I do that, notice the filter symbol under each of these here. Now, I want to point out, as we filter, this will become the view that if you share this with other people, this is what they're going to see as well. If we do a filter view, people can individually do this. But let me finish with the filter here. So if I wanted to filter by distributor here, and I just click on the filter, and notice I have, if there was conditional formatting, I could go through here and pick all these different ones, or conditions or values. I'm just going to go ahead and hit clear all. And let's say I only wanted to check on a few different one of these. So if I wanted to say, you know what, I want to see what's happening with Walt Disney and Warner Brothers. As soon as I hit OK, notice everything gets updated on my data, only those two distributors. But I can still keep filtering. So if I go to, oh, you know what, I want to see by genre, and I'm going to hit clear all, and I want to see it by adventure, action, and I'll say drama. And then I can just hit the OK down below. So now I have it filtered by Walt Disney and Warner Brothers. And inside this, you can see also that there's adventure, there's action, and drama between the three different ones. So filters are very powerful to really sort your data. But remember, when you apply these filters like this becomes the view for everybody. If you're working with other people and you don't want to disturb as people are working with by putting these filters in, this is where we want to go to a filter view. So I'm going to go to data and filter view, and I'm going to create a new filter view. So when I do this now, notice how it looks a little bit different around. This is filter one. I can name this. So maybe I'm going to say this is going to be by distributor, and I'll just go through and call it that. And now I can do my sort. So if I was going to sort by certain ones, so I'll just pick clear, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick just a couple of random ones right here. And let's do the same thing, and we'll do a couple genres here. We'll clear, and we'll see if any of the filters come up on these ones. So if I get a few of these, I hit OK. So there we got our Warner Brothers, Universal, 20th Century Studios, and then we also have it broken down into the different ones. So if I go up to data again, what I want to point out is under filter views, notice I have one called distributor. The neat thing about this, so if I have this document shared with other people, they're going to be able to see this view here as well. So they'll have the original document that they can be working on, creating their own views and sharing it with other people to point out how they're examining the data, but you just have to go right here. And we can also close out. We have the settings here where we can update the range, rename, delete, or duplicate, or close out from here as well. So those are different ways that you can filter data inside Google Sheets. Now I want to introduce you to how to use the if statement in Google Sheets. So this is a very popular function that's important that people start to understand. And we're just going to go with a couple of basic if statements to start with. Okay, so we're going to place our if statement right here. We need to have our equal sign, just like before. And we're going to type just if. And here it is right here. So when we do an if statement, what's going to happen is we're going to say, if this happens, then do this. Otherwise, do this. So that's kind of the structure of an if statement. So let's go ahead and select this. So what's the logical expression? So I'm going to say if this right here, so I'm going to click in this spot, C7 is greater than and we'll just make up a number. Let's say if it's greater than 600, we'll just put 600 in there for now. Then we're going to go comma. So we have our logical expression. Then what? What happens if it's true? Well, I want it to be saying doing good. And when we wanted to say something, this is where we need to have our quotation marks. So I'm going to put the quotation mark and say doing good, just like this. And then comma. If I don't want it to say anything, I'm going to just use a double quotation mark just to say bring back an empty spot. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this and hit enter. Now it looks like it's blank. Did it work? Well, we said if it was greater than 600, so we know it's not greater than 600. Let's see what happens when we copy this down. If I drag this down now, notice anything above 600, it said was doing good. It was only this first one that said if it was below 600. Now, what else can we do with this? Well, let's do this one more time here. So if I go and start my if statement, again, if I type if, and this time I'm going to use cell referencing and some of the things that we've talked about already with absolute values. So I have my if statement. I'm going to select it again. So I'll say if this right here is greater, we'll just use the greater again. And I'm going to click on this cell right here. So I can click on this cell. And remember talking about cell referencing, when I'm copying it down, I need it to stay locked in that. So I need to go absolute, absolute. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit F4, and there's my absolute. So this is, now I can carry on. I'm going to put a comma in here. So what's the value if true? Well, I can go ahead and click on this cell right here, doing good. And again, remember, I need to make this absolute because I'm going to be copying this down. So I put F4 just like that. Otherwise, now I could use my double quotation mark to put a blank back, or else maybe I wanted to say something else. Maybe I wanted to say bad month here. And then I'll do my function F4, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. So based on what this is, it's going to look at that $500, and if it's above 400, it should come back with saying doing good. If it was below, it should say bad month. Let's hit enter. There we go, doing good. So if I copy this down, I can drag this down here, and they're all doing good because there was nothing below that. But let's take a look. Now this will all change dynamically. If all of a sudden this turned to 300 here, and I hit enter, it changed instantly over here. Now, the thing is why you want to be using cell referencing like this, because you can update these changes. So what I mean is, what happens if doing good changes? If it's now going to be 800. So as soon as I put 800 here, this all updates down here. And I can write something different also. So it doesn't maybe have to be a bad month. And I'll just say so-so, just like this. And notice how that updates. So that's why you want to be using cell referencing rather than just the individual cells like this, because then you can just make a couple updates and it changes everything. So that's just the beginner step to the if statement. In future these Google Sheets tutorials, I'm going to go dive a little bit deeper and do nested if statements with other functions inside of it. That brings us to the end of this Google Sheets beginners tutorial, lesson 2. I'm already starting to plan lesson 3, so I'd like some feedback to know what specific things you are looking for. Thanks for watching this week on Teachers Tech. I'll see you next time with more tech tips and tutorials.